11 September 2024, we are going to discuss editorials of The Hindu. First article here, it is written by UAE Finance Foreign Minister. Indian UAE ties they have discussed in detail. We will discuss this article in detail. During this visit of Sheikh Khalid, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, in Delhi this week, there was one engagement. There was emblematic significance for him, even the ties between UAE and India also. Visiting Rajghat, His Highness, he planted a tree in memory of Mahatma Gandhi. This can be followed for example from his father, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed in 2016. Even his grandfather, he is a founding president of country, Sheikh Zayed in 1992. These three trees, they planted by three generations of the past, current and future leaders of the country within the span of 3 decades. They will stand side by side. This will symbolize deep rooted and growing ties between India and UAE. This will be embedded in the past and reaching towards future between ties between the both countries. At first glance we can see both of our countries, they appear to be very different. India is almost 40 times larger than UAE in terms of the size, and India also most populous country in the world. There are more than 1,000 citizens for every Emirati citizen in UAE. Economies of UAE and India, they have founded on different strengths. Agriculture is key pillar in India's economy, but only make up 1% of the United Arab Emirates GDP. Both countries engaged as the modern nations in 20th century, even 21st century also. Histories of both countries and governance are very different. But despite all these differences, the strongest ties between two nations, because we have common interests and values that are enriched by complementary strengths and diversity, embracing differences rather than seeking a paper over it. What are all the deeper connections of people and progress? This secret of success of India and UAE relationship, this is rooted in affinity, trust, respect. This is derived from generations of human connections. Just like trees depend on strong roots to draw water and nutrients for their growth and then hold them fast during tougher times, partnership between these two nations must be these qualities in order to thrive. India UAE has always been a relationship about people and progress. First trade link between Arab Gulf and India go back almost thousands of years as people, goods and ideas, they crossed back and forth across the ocean. Pottery discovered in recent archaeological excavation in Abu Dhabi. This shows the connection between Indus Valley civilizations of more than 4 millennia ago. Even author says during their parents' time, many Emiratis they traveled to India for medical treatment. Even her children, they caught different cold and flu during childhood. They went to India's homeopathic medicine first before going to other kind of medicines. So India, in this aspect, we can promote our cultural tourism in medical sector. Medical tourism we need to promote. Several countries point out India's medical sector is cheap, even growing also. So this area, India, we can focus more on medical tourism. If you see expatriate community, UAE is hosting Indian diaspora of 35 lakhs people. This is largest expatriate community in their country. The success is built on this leaders' far-sighted commitment to tolerance, inclusion, empowerment of women and minorities. Even now, UAE is grateful for contribution of Indian nationals, making strength and vibrancy of UAE's economy. The degree of connectivity between both countries can be simply stated in plain fact that there are almost 1,500 and more flights that are being operated between India and UAE every single week. When relationship is founded on respect and sincere inclination towards partnership, this collaboration, there will be no limit what kind of collaboration it can be achieved. If you see in February 2022, India became first country that has signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement with UAE. Trade negotiation often take years, if not decades. Sometimes they will be abandoned due to insurmountable differences. But when it comes to UAE and India, at the right instance, when our leadership has gone to UAE and we signed there, thanks to UAE's Highness and His Excellency, we were able to even agree our partnership agreement within 6 months. This is because trust and affinity between the heart of our relationship. First year of operations, bilateral trade, this jumped over almost 15%. There are billions of rupees of additional investment deals, even that may go plan to go much further. Sheikh Khalid, recent visit, he attended inauguration of Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, Abu Dhabi. This is first overseas branch of prestigious university, so-called IITs. Even both countries exchanged agreements on topics including health innovation, renewable energy. This will be crucial to UAE's and world future also. During Crown Prince visit, there were further cooperation agreements that will be signed, including civil nuclear technology, domestic success story of Emirates, one rooted in international cooperation also. India's research into nuclear desalination to produce clean drinking water. This has very importance for desert countries such as UAE. This one example. This will offer many opportunities and even it can strengthen the partnership between both countries in green energy production, but also in medical technology, scientific research, agriculture, industry also. How the ties will be flourished in the future. Like his grandfather Sheikh Khalid, he planted Amlas tree, Casina filtula. Even Sheikh Muhammad bin Zayed, he planted Mausalri tree. These trees, they grow fast, they embody opportunity and renewal, while super growing trees, virtues of stability and patient trust. As UAE and India contribute to develop comprehensive strategic partnership, these different qualities symbolize UAE's approach. We can have confidence in our mutual affinity, respect, and our long history of connection, but also we need to be determined to keep growing and innovating together so that our partnership will be renewed and it will be finding a new ways to flourish. This is written by UAE's foreign minister from their country point of view. This is one good article you can write from. Next article we will discuss about White Revolution 2.0. What is this White Revolution? Why we need to carry out White Revolution? We'll discuss this article in detail. National Milk Day, this will be celebrated every year on 26 November. Why? This day marks birth anniversary of Verghese Kurian. He is a father of and even leader of White Revolution that happened in 1960-1970. This made country overcome milk shortages and country became self-sufficiency in the White Revolution's milk production. Milk and milk products, if you see, they are very essential for nutritious diet, especially among the children. A persistent low quality diet, they have several negative consequences for children health. They will adversely impact poor nutrition and it will grow into adulthood and then it will impact their health also. Malnutrition, several times we'll be hearing from women. Even those things can be avoided by taking milk as a daily product. Family size, this affects spending on food, especially protein rich food like milk. This is relatively very expensive. In recent days, we go and take 1 liter of milk, it is almost costing around 30 rupees. Parents in large family, they may need to make trade-offs for food quality. If household income is not at good when their financial resources required to meet daily growing family needs. This will result in lower per person expenditure on nutritious foods in larger families. For food products such as vegetables, larger families they may benefit from economies of scale, discounts on bulk buying. But when it comes to milk, we don't have any chance. Lower per person expenditure in large families, this may not be good indicator of quantity of food consumed per person. For milk, there are rarely significant discounts on larger packets. As we discussed, there will be almost 30 rupees you will be spending on packet. There is in a little research how family size matters in India in terms of per person expenditure on food items. If here author says we consider spending on milk products in rural and household India, two types of families: 3-member households with one child or 4-member household with two children. Authors suggest their estimate based on India's National Household Consumption Survey of 22-23 data. There are almost 18,179 3-member single-child families, 28,650 4-member two-child families in this survey. Author found out that through survey, average one-child family spent around 443 rupees per person per month on milk, while two-child family spent 376. This average spending, this pushed by expenditure of high-income families. Per person milk spending by median household, this ranked based on total household expenditure. This is around 329 for single child family, 300 rupees for two child family. These findings suggest parents face trade-offs because of the insufficient increase in the family income. As family size increases, they must prioritize their critical expenditure because there are several other areas they need to make investment: education, healthcare, even other daily food items also. This will make a little budget for availing milk. When we divide this household based total household expenditure into 4 quartiles among one child and two children families, the spending on milk per person in the highest quartile is about 9 times of the lowest quartiles. That means lesser spending is happening. Inevitably, lack of nutrition among children in poorer family, this will impact health and educational outcomes. Eventually, when they become adult, this will increase social inequality, and it will increase the social inequality spectrum also. If we see rural and urban comparison, the data in prices and not in quantities. We can compare two types of household within rural and urban areas rather than rural urban, because for rural and urban areas there will be significant difference in prices. In rural areas, milk spending includes value of home produced milk also. Both in rural and urban India, per capita milk expenditure in all quartiles, total monthly expenditure is lower in two child families than single child family. This is a concern. Why? Because even single child families spend too low on milk. Even author estimate shows that average spending across all households, 58% of the children between ages of 6 months to 2 years. Lactose intolerance does exist in several areas. This is maybe largely due to poorest families within the lowest consumption quartiles. Although there is a public policy that cannot roll out intervention based on family size, there should be efforts that should be made to increase milk consumption through various schemes to address nutritional gaps, even improve children health outcomes also. The gift milk program in National Dairy Development Board, this will offer 200 milliliters of flavored milk that will be fortified with vitamins such as vitamin A, vitamin D. The milk will be added with these vitamins, so these vitamins will help in boosting growth of the children. Even if you see some states, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they have included milk distribution in their school midday meal program for government schools. This will help families even more if they cannot afford increasing milk prices. While this milk production in the country, this is growing at the rate of 6%, but demand is growing more than supply. This is why milk is becoming very costlier. We need to bring some policy measures, or government can take some initiatives so that this demand and supply can be maintained. In past few years, if you see, India's leading milk suppliers, they increased prices several times. Latest being this June this year, because of the production cost, cattle fodder, transportation, labor, all these things combining, they are increasing prices every day, every month. This will not be good for affordability of milk among the poorer families. This is the 10th year since we began celebrating National Milk Day. The time is very ripe for India's White Revolution 2.0. We need to carry out one more White Revolutions like the Dr. Varghese Kurian carried out in 1916-70s. So this will boost India's milk production and then affordability can also increase. This is good article. Basically this article they have more focused on the consumption, even expenditure, how it impacts health in the children. So you can add several points to this article. Next article. This article see China and Africa summit happened recently in Beijing, and mostly how China has carried out that summit and what are all the initiative. These things have been discussed. We need to learn many things. China taking a lot of opportunities from African countries. They've been investing a lot. Few days back we discussed a lot about how India can utilize Africa for India's critical mineral missions. In the same manner, this article can also be integrated. So recently, FOCSE, Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, this was carried out in Beijing. Even African countries, despite their reservation and grievances, they have found this forum as a useful to enhance their proximity to China. This 9th Ministerial Conference of FOCSE, Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, this has concluded in Beijing. Scholar George Yu noted in 1968, studying China in Africa is much like pursuing dragon in the bush. Basically, how China is carrying out its strategic activities by collaborating with Africa. This Beijing summit last week, this confirms China's consistency and steadfastness in pursuing Chinese goals in relation to Africa. These goals might be economic, political, strategic in nature. This reflects China's long-held view that Africa is vital for world future. Why? Because Africa, if you see in minerals also, they hold world most minerals. Many other areas, even political point of view also, Africa is very, very important. If you see this Beijing declaration, they have discussed several points. First thing, there was a jointly negotiated document. This carried out Chinese draftsmanship, mainly 6 areas: Belt and Road Initiative, AU Agenda, even 2030, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Global Development Initiatives, Global Security Initiative, Global Civilization Initiative, even review of this Forum of China-Africa collaborations. Second area, they have committed expanding exchange on governance, modernization, poverty reductions, so that this modernization, characteristic of their civilizations that can be promoted. China is supporting Africa because China has increasing interest in Africa's influence in role of global governance. Africa appreciates China appreciates Africa in joining this G20 also. Even United Nations Security Council also, China, pushing for Africa's permanent membership because world is becoming bipolar. Now Russia dominance is reducing, China growing in relations to USA. So China wants to balance their interest by bringing Africa. Even third area, what they have discussed, there is a little new in the goal to promote synergy involving Chinese, African and United Nations development, because this was even articulated several times in the past also. China, 3 plans are there: Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, Global Cooperation Initiative. These are all already embodied in joint strategy to create common path for all security and development paradigm. The declaration, this will counter-terrorism activity, maritime security challenges, these things have been carried out. So China wants to seek advantage. There is a huge coastline across African countries. So this coastline could be utilized by China so that their maritime hegemony can also be improved. Fifth area, concluding the section points, transfer of the responsibility of Africa's FOCSE to co-chair from Sahel of Republic of Congo. This confirms that this conference will be held in 2027 in Congo. Beneath the surface, what is the template that China is following? So what is this meeting significance? International media, they produce numerous headlines. They also covered Chinese president keynote address, inauguration of the summit. Even they presented an offer for new financing amount almost 51 billions in soft loans, grants, investment promotion to African nations. Chinese president identified 10 partnership actions on connectivity, green development, industrial chain cooperation, health. On the surface, these big announcements such as like 60,000 training opportunities for women, youth, invitation to 1,000 members of African political parties to visit China, training for 7,000 military people, all these things, they are noteworthy. But more noteworthy on this occasion is China's decision to give all these 33 African least developed countries with zero tariff treatment for 100% tariff lines. When implemented all these things, this will boost definitely African export to China. So we can learn these things from Indian point of view also. Even multi-dimensional cooperation between China and Africa, three principal perspective they have factored in. First, Chinese view, natural partnership. The second thing they have discussed about African view to recognize benefits and risk, close partnership with China. These things they have closely attributed so that other countries may not be offended. Third area, this prevalent American perception, this has been prevented by Michael of this Atlantic Council. They argued that China's interest in developing world is shaped by Xi Jinping's anti-Americanism, because Xi Jinping or China, their hegemony, they want to increase their global dominance over America. What is import for India? What are the key takeaways from India? So that from this latest forum of China Africa collaborations, at least three areas we can mostly obviously can focus. First area, consistency in cultivation of Africa as the highest political levels is must. Why? Because after holding 3 India-Africa Forum summits, India paused its Africa-centered conference diplomacy in 2015. Almost now 9 years happened, that means decade. We haven't conducted Africa-India summits. So we need to continue our joint collaborations, partnerships. Second area, we have strong historical bonds, ideational contributions. These things are very useful, but they must be backed by financial generosity. These things will demand substantial additional resources in order to fuel India-Africa cooperation. Without financial resources, our diplomatic or business initiative, they would be becoming handicapped. Third area where India can focus about African relationship, India's diplomatic priorities must be reviewed. If this continent enjoys high priority, Indian polity must be enabled and encouraged to act accordingly. We need to understand what Africa wants from their point of view. When we truly understand what is their requirement and how to invest, recently we discussed about critical mineral policy or mission also. Africa can become cornerstone in this area. So our diplomatic missions need to understand all these requirements and they should act accordingly. India's Africanists have presented range of practical policy choices for government. What is now pending is our political will to act on this and then to make big difference in Africa-India summits. We discussed 3 articles today. Thank you very much for discussion.